When you hear survival horror, 1,000,001 titles come in mind. Whether it's arcade-styled shoot-em-ups like Left 4 Dead, action RPGs like Dead Island, or even insane fast-paced hybrids like Blood and Bacon, the genre is popular to say the least. But on top of the iceberg that is survival horror, there is a franchise that is cited for being the godfather of sorts. The franchise that not only carried this genre on its back, but quite literally and figuratively raised it from the dead. You've seen the title of this video, you know what I'm talking about already, but let's hear that announcer say those sweet, sweet words.
Resident Evil.
It still gives me chills. When Resident Evil was originally released in 1996, it was revolutionary. And what I mean by that is that though it wasn't the first ever survival horror game, it was the first ever survival horror game that was good. I mean, at the point of this release, the most that people had to worry about was choosing between a plant dinosaur and a bipedal turtle that believes in the Second Amendment. But then, out of the blue, the mad scientist over at Capcom dropped one of the most famous and terrifying scenes in gaming history. Now look, I know that it doesn't look like much today, but keep in mind that Resident Evil came out one day after this, which is a banger, which means that at this time, this was enough to make a young Scooch his pants. I'm sorry, did we censor that? I said come. And obviously with Resident Evil's genre-defining success, there was only one way to go. Out. Like way out. We got sequels, we got movies, we got Jill fighting Thanos in Marvel vs. Capcom 2, which is canon, by the way. And the list goes on and on and on and on. And though there have only been 10 mainline Resident Evil games at the point of this video, there has also been 35 spin-offs, 11 movies, 21 novels, and 15 pachinko games, which I don't know if they are canon, but I digress. Why am I telling you this? Because somewhere in the 83 pieces of Resident Evil media that exist, something happened. The Resident Evil universe got infected. And no, I'm not talking about the T-virus, I'm talking about a virus that is much more sinister. An infection that can only be coined as the Dame de Niro virus, which, when translated to English, means give me money. What started off as a humble game about zombies, puzzles, mansions, and corruption has slowly veered its way into being about superpowers, sexy vampire chases, and featuring quite possibly the dumbest protagonist I have ever seen in my whole goddamn life. At this point, you may think that I hate Resident Evil Village, and that's not the case. In fact, Resident Evil Village is the only game in recent history that I bought on both PS5 and PC just to feel the difference in gameplay because I love it so much. I think the game is fantastic, and in the moments that I wasn't clenching my cheeks, taking in the beautiful scenery, or crying, I was definitely laughing my ass off, though I couldn't tell if that was the game's intention. But somewhere between the sexy giant vampire chases, fighting Magneto from the X-Men, and the big reveal, which we'll talk about later, I realized something very important. A statement that may follow me for the rest of my life. Resident Evil is the Fast and the Furious of video games. It seems like every Resident Evil game is having a pissing contest with its past, figuring out how to one-up itself as the story gets crazier and crazier as the years go by. And Resident Evil Village is no different. The game starts off as a dad simulator. You're hanging out with a fucking baby and go, damn. There's no way it can get better than this. And then it does. A mysterious group of men show up and shoot your wife. That's a weird time to say that, huh? A mysterious group of men show up and shoot your wife, and then they grab you, kidnap you, and drop you off in the patented Resident Evil copyright trademark village.
Wife gone. Think about wife.
And at this point, literally 3 minutes into the game, I realized two very important things that would follow the rest of the game's runtime. Number one, that Ethan is without a shadow of a doubt the dumbest fucking person I have ever seen in my entire life. You didn't have to touch it, Ethan. Oh, Ethan. And number two, the gameplay in this game can only be described as extreme hit and run. You aim, you shoot. Did you kill them? Probably not, because every single character in this game is made out of 1 part zombie, 1 part tank, and 2 parts fucking square pants, because they're all sponges. So you run over here, and then you shoot until they die, rinse and repeat until the game ends. But what this game lacks in gunplay, it makes up for with insane visuals and a story with enough twists and turns in it to be a featured track in Initial D. Almost every single cog in this over-the-top melodrama— not you! Almost every single cog in this over-the-top melodrama has enough depth to make you want to watch YouTube videos or scan Wikipedia pages to pick up some of the story that you may have missed, because there's so much tucked away in the corners of this game that it's impossible to get it all on your first run. On top of that, it was very difficult for me to absorb the first part of the story because Lady Dimitrescu made me so hard I almost passed out. I needed to say that once. Let's move on. But here's where we have our first issue of the game, which is as much Capcom's fault as it is our own. And this is the part where I stop speaking vaguely and start going full spoiler mode, so if you haven't played the game, I suggest you do, and then come back to this video, or if you don't care, let's keep going. It's not really Capcom's fault. The internet's just too goddamn horny. Lady Dimitrescu was well received, to say the least. That's just a lot of fan art, isn't it? With Capcom noticing how much free marketing comes with making the BBOTY, aka the bad bitch of the year, a lot of this game's build-up and marketing was around Lady Dimitrescu and her 3 daughters. And for good reason. The castle was beautiful. Exploring it genuinely filled me with wonder, and I couldn't wait to see what was behind every secret wall and corner. But then I ran into the first of Lady Dimitrescu's daughters, and the boss fight only lasted 40 seconds. And surely enough, this was a reoccurring theme. I actually went back into the footage and counted, and all 3 of the daughters' boss fights lasted a grand total of 3 minutes. And nothing happens in these fights. You bring them to the sun, and then you shoot them in the face 10 to 20 times depending on your difficulty, and then they die. And that's it. They're never heard from again. And honestly, Lady Dimitrescu's boss fight is no better either. I kind of felt my head spinning by how fast she was defeated, and that's when I realized something that surprised a lot of us. That Lady Dimitrescu and her 3 daughters are only in the first 3 hours of this game's 9-hour runtime. Initially, this wouldn't be that much of a problem, and I kind of understand it. I mean, marketing everyone else would kind of be spoiler heavy, but unfortunately, the lords introduced after Lady D are flat and uninspired characters that just serve as fodder to get you to the end of the game. This is further exemplified by the fact that their areas weren't as polished as Lady D's at all. The second Lord, Donna Beneviento, serves as the horror section of the game, but somehow her section is the safest part of the game as well. You do a few puzzles which can be solved by a 7-year-old or a crow, that's your fun fact of the day, and then you're met with a giant scary baby monster. But unfortunately, the baby monster that's chasing you is as dumb as, well, a baby. And this baby monster is only terrifying for 4 frames until you realize that Resident Evil has kept their same AI for 25 years. Afterwards, you get to the Beneviento boss fight, which lasts about a minute and is just a game of hide and seek. Not joking, you run around the house and then you find a doll, and then you run around the house and then you find a doll and then you kill her. Yay! But still, overall, it's okay. The third lord you reach is Salvatore Morio, I'm gonna fuck up all these names, whose area manages to be worse. There's a tiny cave with nothing in it, and then a boss fight and chase scene that feels like the Pirates of the Caribbean ride from Disneyland. As much as the music tried to convince me, I never really felt like I was in danger at all. And also, with enough scoring, anything can be terrifying. You don't believe me? Well, watch.
Jill sandwich.
And Moru, though tragic in his nature, didn't have enough screen time to actually invoke a feeling from me at all. He is there, he is fish, he is dead, okay. And finally, the fourth and final Lord, Heisenberg, which does two separate things for the game. One, starts leading the story to its insane jaw-dropping conclusion, and two, exposes the flaws this game's combat system has innately. This area is big and beautiful, but after 2 hours of going through the same corridors again and again, being met with the same 5 or 6 bullet sponge characters, I couldn't help but wish for it to be over. On top of that, this section really hammers home the hit and run gameplay, because every single enemy in this area is dealt with the exact same way. Some can just cut you off, or up, I guess. But finally, when this area is over and the game starts to climax, the story was so over the top that the final 3 hours of the game make it worth it. And do you want to know how the climax starts? By fighting Zombie Magneto in a fucking mech. I couldn't make this shit up if I tried. And I know what you're saying, but Scooch, doesn't Magneto control metal? Wouldn't a mech lose? Not if it's made out of a metal polymer hybrid he just happened to have laying around. Because I guess. And then this game not only puts the pedal to the metal, but also hits the goddamn nitrous oxide and snorts an entire pound of cocaine. If you guys are wondering what took this video so long to produce, it's because I had to stare at my wall with my jaw dropped for an entire week just to process what the fuck went on. Even trying to talk about the end of this game would do it a huge disservice, because we're gonna have to sit here for another week just to accurately explain what happened. But I have to, so to save us time, I am going to explain it in the fastest and least eloquent way that I can. Ethan fights Mother Miranda and gets his whole ass heart ripped out. I'm not even kidding, she fucking Mortal Kombat Kano fatalities his ass. As he's dying, Miranda says some shit about keeping his daughter as her own, because his daughter is a weapon which has been alluded to throughout the game, and then Ethan finally dies. And then you get to play as Chris Redfield, which is fucking awesome. It's the first time that the game lets you feel like a real badass. Whereas Ethan's playstyle is a lot about running away and conserving ammo, Chris Redfield is exactly the opposite. He's a boulder-punching asshole who has basically unlimited bullets, and if he points a laser pointer at something for long enough, a tactical nuke comes down and levels the playing field.
Boulder-punching asshole.
Chris finds the Megamesite underground, also known as the fungal root, also known as the Black God in the Japanese version of this game, which I thought sounded really cool. And if you don't know, the Megamesite is the thing that is corrupting and controlling everything. He plants a bomb on it and then finds Miranda's lab, which reveals that Mother Miranda has been alive for a century, ever since touching the Megamesite, and that she was also a mentor to Oswell E. Spencer, the head of the Umbrella Corporation who made the T-Virus from all of the other games. Miranda experimented with the fungus in an attempt to revive her daughter Ava, who succumbed to the Spanish flu, and the four lords, Lycans, and Eve were all failed experiments. Turns out Ethan's baby Rose is a weapon of mass destruction because she inherited powers from her parents, Ethan and Mia, because in Resident Evil 7, the prequel to this game, Ethan actually died at the hands of Jack Bauer when he stomped on his head. And then Ethan came back as a mold zombie. But also the first ever big reveal that I've seen that is only a big reveal to the main character, because I don't think there was a single person on this entire fucking planet that thought that Ethan Winters was normal. I mean, brother, just 2 hours ago you got your hand sliced off and then you reattached it like a fucking Lego figure and you thought that was okay? Ethan really taped his hand back on and went, damn. Guess I'm just built different, huh? Ethan revives from the dead after learning from Evelyn in Limbo that he's a mold zombie, which is why he can revive in the first place. The Duke Ubers Ethan to the site where Miranda is trying to use Rose to revive her daughter, Ava, not to be confused with Evelyn, but then accidentally revives Rose instead. Miranda very obviously gets mad, but thankfully Ethan tells Miranda that his hands are rated M for Miranda, and after a hard-fought battle, Ethan kills Miranda. As his body body is crumbling due to hitting its regenerative limit, Ethan hands his baby girl Rose to Chris Redfield and dies in an act of fatherly love, detonating the Megamesite bomb in the process and destroying the mold. Mia mourns Ethan, himbo-ass Chris Redfield finds a way to make it about himself, and then finds out that the BCAA soldiers that were sent to the village to help distract Miranda were organic bioweapons, which means that BCAA is up to some fuck shit as well. And then the game finally ends. Except it doesn't. Speed round. Boom, 20-year time skip. Boom, Rose is wearing Ethan's jacket. Boom, people in the background say some weird shit about the moon. Boom, Rose visits Ethan's grave. Boom, random agent tells her that she's needed. Boom, she threatens random agent and says that she still has fucking superpowers because she's made out of the mold since her dad was mold when he banged her mom. Boom, drives into the sunset. Boom, someone comes up to the car. Boom, the game ends for real. And this ending is fucking fantastic for a variety of reasons. The gameplay takes so many turns. The boss fights are genuinely fun, cinematic, and exciting. And the story actually makes you feel something. And this list goes on and on and on. It's probably one of my favorite endings to a game that I've seen to date. And here's the point where we speculate what the future of Resident Evil will hold using our 400 IQ. But before we do, you know what's coming. Did you know that the majority of the people watching this video aren't subscribed? Guys, we put a lot of effort into all of the content that goes through this channel, so I think that you would have a lot of fun subscribing to us and ringing the bell so that you don't miss a banger. I love you if you subscribe, I love you if you don't, but please do, it really helps the channel out. And also comment, leave something for the algorithm, etc. Anyways, let's get into the prediction. Roll the opera music, please! Rose is going to be the main character of the next game because of the outro scene in this game with a title card that states that this is the end of Ethan's story. However, Resident Evil as of late has this habit of trying to include as many horror tropes as it can. Resident Evil 7 had zombies, deranged hillbillies, body horror, and even jigsaw-style game puzzles. Resident Evil 8 has water horror in Moru, doll horror with Beneviento, vampires, babies, etc. So looking at the list of horror tropes that exist, there is one place that Resident Evil hasn't gone yet, but we're not done. Because throughout the history of Resident Evil, they have always tried to do one thing. What's that, you ask? They have always tried to outdo themselves. So what does it mean? Well, let's go back to the time skip. Play this clip.
Do you think the little boy will be able to touch the moon?
Nobody can touch the moon, it's too far away.
Wait, what if he has a rocket ship?
Okay, then you can touch it, but it'd be very, very cold.
What does it mean? That Resident Evil 9 you're gonna play as a superpowered Rose fighting zombies on the moon. Write that down. Write that down. Write that down. Write that down. I rest my case. Resident Evil Village is a great game, though it is in no way, shape, or form perfect. It honestly feels like half of the game has enough polish to make it the best Resident Evil game ever, but then the other half just drags its feet for no reason. I genuinely believe that if they were to remove Beneviento, Moro, and half of Heisenberg, the game would almost be better because every single second of it would have felt polished. Instead, what we received is a game that comes together, but not without testing our commitment to finish it in the first place. Which is why giving it a rating out of 10 is so hard. I think that the beginning of the game is a solid 8, and then the middle of it is a 5, and then the ending of it is a 9. However, I will give it bonus points because after you beat the game, you unlock New Game Plus and the Mercenaries mode, which is just a lot of bonus content for fun, giving this game a longer runtime if you're trying to milk it for every cent that it's worth. And it is worth $79.99, so good luck. If you like Resident Evil, this game will easily sit in your top 30 Resident Evil games. If you like action, this game does a great job at keeping your heart racing, though its gameplay can be repetitive in most cases. And if you just want to experience an insane over-the-top story, this game does it just about as good as it can be done. I can say that I genuinely love this game, flaws and all. And even as I'm talking to you right now, I'm excited to just go back and be a resident of that evil village. I've literally been excitedly waiting for this video to be done and come out so that I can announce that on my stream, twitch.tv/ScoochLive, we're going to be starting New Game Plus right now and trying all the fun items that you get to unlock. So please go over there and check it out. I am streaming at this second. I am so excited to be playing it, and I'm playing on PC. PC, so my aim won't be as dog shit as the time that I beat it on the PS5 on stream. Please don't judge me for that. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm so excited to finally make this series about different things because there's so much good games to talk about and so much good concepts to talk about. So thank you guys for checking it out. This is probably the longest episode of Can We Talk About This to date, which is an insane accomplishment. Shout out to Andrew, the guy who's been editing the more recent episodes. You're a fantastic editor and I love you. Thank you guys for watching the videos. I love you guys. I am just excited to be done with this because it literally was taking me so much time to get this all written and organized and all that stuff. So I hope that you have a wonderful day. Go over to my stream at twitch.tv/ScoochLive or click the videos that are on the screen because they are bangers as well. They are bangers as well. Click the videos that are on the screen. They are bangers. Go, click those videos. Click them, or go to my stream. Go. Get out of here.